Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astotristat Srimad Divine Grace ISKCON Pandacharya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astotristat Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavena Ki Jai, Namacharya, Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Si Kahao, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhara, Shri Vasadi, Shri Gaura, Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Radha, Krishna, Gopal, Gopinant, Shyamakunda, Radha Kunda, Girigavardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Mayapana Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Ki Jai, Srimati Tulsi Devi Bhakta Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vena Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Gaur. Our glories to the summon devotees, our glories to summon devotees, our glories to summon devotees, our glories to Sri Gauranga, Sri Gauranga. 4:22:26. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasa tato jaya muddiray nastapaye sabhadrisu nityam bhagavatam sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhakti bhavaiti naistiki. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, Text 26. This chapter is titled Prithu Maharaj's Meeting with the Kumaras. Yada Rati Brahmani Nestiki Puman Achayavam Jnana Viraga Ramasa Dahatya Viryam Ri Dayam Jivakosham Pachat Makam Yonim Ivoti Tognim Yada Rati Brahmani Nistiki Puman Achayavam Jnana Viraga Ramasa Dahatya Viryam Hridayam Jivakosham Panchatmakam Yonim Ivoti Tognim Yada Brahmani Nistiki Puman Achayavam Jnana Viraga Ramasa Dahatya Viryam Hridayam Jivakosham Panchatmakam Yonim Ivoti Tognim. Can someone try? Ladies, anyone can try? Any more ladies? All right, word for word translation and purport by His Divine Grace. His confounded Acharya, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Yada, when, Ratihi, attachment, Brahmani, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nestiki, fixed. Puman, the person. Achayavan, completely surrendered to the spiritual master. Jnana, knowledge. Viraga, detachment. Ramansa, by the force of. Dahati, bonds. Aviryam, important. Hridayam, within the heart. Jiva kosham, the covering of the spirit soul. Pancha atmakam, 5 elements. Yonim, source of birth. Iva, like. Utitaha, emanating. Agnihi, fire. Translation. Upon becoming fixed in his attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the grace of the spiritual master and by the awakening knowledge, and detachment, a living entity situated within the heart of the body and covered by the 5 elements burns up his material surroundings exactly as fire arising from wood burns the wood itself. Please kindly responsibly repeat. Upon becoming fixed in his attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by the grace of the spiritual master, and by awakening knowledge and detachment, the living entity situated within the heart of the body and covered by the 5 elements burns up his material surrounding exactly as fire rising from wood burns the wood itself. Purport. It is said that both the Jivatma, the individual soul, and the Paramatma live together within the heart. In the Vedic version, it is stated, Riddhi, I am Atma. The soul and supersoul both live within the heart. The individual soul is liberated when it comes out of the material heart or cleanses the heart to make it spiritualized. The example here is very appropriate. Yonim Ivotitogni. Agni or fire comes out of the wood, and by it, the wood is completely destroyed. Similarly, when a living entity increases his attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is to be considered like fire. A blazing fire is visible by its exhibition of heat and light. Similarly, when living entity within the heart becomes enlightened with full spiritual knowledge and detached from the material world, it burns up his material covering of the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and sky, and becomes free from the 5 kinds of material attachments, namely ignorance, false egoism, attachment to the material world, envy, and absorption in material consciousness. Therefore, Panchatmakam, as mentioned in this verse, refers to either the 5 elements or the 5 coverings of material contamination. When these are all burned into ashes by the blazing fire of knowledge and detachment, one is fixed firmly in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and advances one's attraction for Krishna by the spiritual master's instructions, the 5 coverings of the living entity cannot be uncovered from the heart. The living entity is centered within the heart And to take him away from the heart is to liberate him. This is a process. One must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. By his instruction, increase one's knowledge in devotional service. Become detached from the material world and thus become liberated. An advanced devotee, therefore, does not live within the material world, but within his spiritual body, just as a dry coconut lives detached from the coconut husk, even though within the husk. The pure devotee's body is therefore called Chinmaya Sarira, spiritualized body. In other words, a devotee's body is not connected with material activities. And as such, a devotee is always liberated. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. It's confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, 14, text 26. Srila Rupa Goswami also confirms this. Ihayasya hare dashe kamana manasagira nikalaswapi avastasu jivan mukta sa ushate. Whatever his condition may be, one who is engaged fully with his body, mind and speech in the service of the Lord is liberated, even within this body. Even within this body. Pamagyana Timirandasya, Ginajana Sarakaya, Saksur Milita. Yena Tasmai, Sri Guruve Namaha. Sachetaya Manovistan, Stape Tam Yenabutale, Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swa. Padantikam. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda Sahodato, Godadaya Puspavanto, Chitu Chandu Tamanadu. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Etinamani. Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Picharini Evisesa Sunya Bhadi Pasatmad Chatarini Rancha Kalpatari Becha Kripasuni Gaya Becha Patitalam Pavadi Vashnu Vyon Mohana Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Sivasadi Sri Gaura Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, here in the material world, we are very much attached to so many things, and all of these things, they condition us to this material world. Prabhupada is very fond of using the word conditioned souls. And we also use this word, we are conditioned souls. But I think in most cases, we don't really understand what it takes to be conditioned. Now, as psychologists, scientists, he developed a research on conditioning, what it takes to be conditioned. His name is Pavlov. Pavlov, that in his experiment, he conditioned the dog. He caged the dog, and each time he wants to feed the dog, he will ring a bell. And then measure the salivation of the dog. Then they bring the food. So each time he does this, they measure the salivation of the dog. Then they bring the food. But to be able to show the conditioned nature of material existence, Pavlov, he rang the bell. He did not bring the food. He measured the salivation of the dog. The dog was salivating. The dog is conditioned to eating in relation to hearing the sound of a bell. So even though the food was not there, he was acting endogenously from within. He was already eating. He was salivating. Food is not there. He was salivating. So, this is the inherent meaning of conditioning. And so, when we are conditioned in this world, the Bhagavatam mentions Pashyana Pina Pashyati. Even after sin, someone gets into trouble by being attached to this material world. Even after sin, even after hearing, we're not detached. We don't have the ability to become detached. So the hearing is good. The sin is good. But what about that inner strength? So, Lord Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, Tad Vidir Pranipatena Pariprasnena Seva. Upadikshyan Tate Gyanam Gyanina Tatudashina. Prabhupada also emphasized in the purport, we want to be detached from this material world. We want to be disentangled. We want to decarcerate ourselves from the clutches of material inebrities. We need help. I remember when I was young, when I was a small kid, and I was living with my parents in a oil city. I used to go with my friends. I used to sneak out of the house to go to the stadium. So one time, some armed robbers, were being publicly executed because it was a military junta in the country. So we went there. We were excited. As little kids, we were excited. We went to see what it takes to be executed, how execution works, what to learn from it. We were curious, so we went. And then we saw all of this. I think there were about 8 robbers. They were tied to stakes, and soldiers, fire them and kill them. For stealing with arms. But the concept is simple. For stealing. The stadium was filled up with people. And as we were going out, at the gate, someone was apprehended for stealing. Even after seeing that. So the Bhagavatam says, Pashyana Pina Pashyati. Even after seeing, we're not able, we don't have the zeal to resist the temptations. And what's the solution? We need help. And the help comes from the spiritual master. The help comes from the devotees. The help comes from Lord Krishna. So, remember the case, the Damodar Leela? Yashoda was struggling so hard to tie up Krishna to the wooden garden mother. And then each time, there was a shortage of the rope. About 2 fingers shortage of the rope. And I think Vishwanath Chakravarti mentions that our personal efforts, our endeavor alone is not going to yield a full success in capturing Krishna. Our individual endeavors alone will not facilitate our pure devotional service. And therefore, serving under a spiritual master, getting instructions. And sometimes the instructions of the spiritual master may be so difficult to deal with. But each and every instruction of the spiritual master is encapsulated with empowerment. So the faithful devotee goes ahead to be used as an instrument. It's not the devotee who is successful. The devotee is simply used as an instrument. Krishna is the doer. Krishna is the real hero. There are two things, there are two terms, two words. There's a hero and a heropreneur. Krishna is a hero. How and why? Krishna is a hero. How is that? Because a real hero does the job and gives the credit to his servant, to his friend, to the disciple. That's what Krishna did. Arjuna was hesitant to embark on the battle at Kurukshetra because he was thinking, I don't have the strength to deal with this. Second, I'll be committing so many heinous, sinful activities, killing my teachers. And so, to really motivate him and inspire him, Krishna said, look, I have the whole deal, it is over. I just wanted to go and get the credit. That's a hero. Now the heropreneur, the people around, the team members, they do the work. And he says, he reports to the he reports to the management, to the director, to the GBC. I did this. So, these are subtle conditioning. We are attached to the results of our work. This is the consequence, or this is the backdrop of attachment. When we attach, we want to get the credit for everything, even those things we did not do. We don't give credit to whom it is due. These are subtle conditioning. See, anyone can give up a family, rush to go and take sannyas. Anyone can give up material pursuits and give their lives to preaching. But what about the subtle conditionings? These are the most difficult things to deal with. And especially to become detached from the ego, from the false proprietorship. Our greatest problem in this material world is attachment to our egos. And it's so difficult. The ego is the biggest element in material creation. And it's so difficult to cut through the ego. It's so difficult. You may give up sex. What about the ego? What about the envy? So, these are the subtleties of devotional culture are those things that make it really challenging. So Prabhupada is mentioning the purport here, if we take shelter of a spiritual master, things could be facilitated. Because the spiritual master sometimes will give us instruction. It's just like Krishna. You know, Krishna was in the groups with his boyfriends. And at some point in time, he called Subal. Hey, Subal, come here. And he told Subal, go and bring Radharani just now. I mean, it's like asking a fowl or a hen to pass stool without water. But if a fowl passes stool and passes urine and stool at the same time, that was such a difficult task given to Subal. Krishna was not only acting as a friend, he was also, they know him also as the Supreme Lord. And so they accept him as his guru. So Krishna didn't play around with his boyfriends. Otherwise, how could he ask Subal to go and do that type of difficult stuff, difficult job, difficult service? So the very concept of working under the guidance of a spiritual master could be a big challenge. And I remember when I was younger, and I was given some instructions. Some devotees were killed in Liberia, including a white devotee, proper disciple. And then my Guru Maharaj instructed me to go to Liberia. At that time I was in Nigeria. To go to Liberia and investigate how the devotees got killed. So I flew into Ivory Coast, and at the time, the temple president, he was also a disciple of Bhakti Swami. And when he heard I was going to Liberia, he sat me down and gave me a class. Literally gave me a class, gave me a talk, advice on not to go, on why I should not follow that type of instruction, because I will die. So I told him, I signed my death warrant when I joined this movement. So this is a good way to die. He was shocked. He was completely shocked. So I went, and I flew into Liberia. I'm saying this because sometimes people see you and then they see, oh, he's so lucky. He has a PhD. He's a guru. He's a Swami. He travels all over the world. I don't like traveling all over the world. Let's be clear. It is an instruction. My second year in devotional life, I was taking Brahmin. My guru said, oh, Vasudeva, I wanted to be a Swami. I wanted to be a Sannyasi. Second year. You know that I struggled for it. But because I knew I have to give my life to a cause, so I accepted. So serving under the instructions of a spiritual master, that is a recommendation. We have to approach a spiritual master, take shelter, serve the spiritual master, investigate, have some relationship, find out, is this person, am I going to be able to work with this person for the rest of my life? It's not like a popularity contest. So, but these are the ways that we can facilitate our extrication from these attachments to this material world. We receive instructions from the Guru that in some cases, they are not palatable. Even materially speaking. Because see, when I was a temple president, and there was one devotee who was doing his PhD, and he was very active in academic preaching. So he told me he had some invitation to come to Vrindavan to teach in the Gurukul. It means he wanted to leave his program and go to India. In fact, he was remind me about that because I was in his home. He's now a U.S. diplomat to South Africa. So I was staying with him. His wife is my disciple. I was staying with him, and he was reminding me about what I did to him. He said, when he came to tell me that, he wants to go to India, he wants to abandon his PhD program and go to India, I told him that, hey, India will always be there. Your PhD program will not always be there. So he said, he stood around, and he asked me, you know what? I got this job as a U.S. diplomat to South Africa because of my PhD. So he said, thank you. But he said, when I gave him that instruction, he didn't like it. So when we even get some instruction from the temple president or from the guru, we may not like it. But let's see about the end results. So the bottom line is that what facilitates detachment from this world? Service. Service to the devotees. Service to the spiritual master. Whether we like it or not, we are servants. Either we serve the Antaranga Shakti, devotional service, or we serve the Bahiranga Shakti. Because we are by nature servants. Even the parents are serving their kids. Even the breadwinner, he thinks he is the controller or the issuer of the house. But he is serving everyone else in the house. He works so hard. He brings the money to serve everybody else in the house. We are servants. Let's be clear. There's no alternative. There is no other option. We cannot have any other option. In whatever situation we find ourselves, we are serving. So, proper, we use the word dovetail. Dovetail that service attitude in Krishna consciousness. And the senses, the coverings, were born to arches, will be purified, will be pulverized. And so the provisions in devotional service make it very easy for us to pave way to disentangle ourselves from the attachments to this material world. Attachments could be very heavy. And it's not that you don't have the facilities. Attachment to the senses, attachment to the mind. I'll tell you a story. The 10th director for International Monetary Fund is from France. His name is Strauss-Kahn. He had a beautiful wife. He went to one of the best schools. He studied economics. He went to one of the best schools in France. And then he came to New York. He was staying in a hotel. He had a beautiful wife at home. He was staying in a hotel. He got attracted to a maid in the hotel. And he was indicted for attempting rape. He was thrown in jail. That's how he lost his job. Attachment to the senses. Attachment to the dictates of the mind. So we have a problem. And according to Prabhupada, these attachments could be shattered, could be pulverized, could be burned to ashes. And although we may still be living in the material world like a coconut shell, the coconut is there, the dry coconut, you shake it. It's not attached to the husk. So that's a good analogy. Prabhupada is very good in, giving practical analogies, something that we can relate with, we can see. And therefore, the process of devotional service is the essential element that brings about a positive change in our efforts to become detached from this material world. And even the simple processes of devotional culture, if we take it seriously, that could lead us to perfection. That could lead us to the perfection of detachment. And just by performing devotional service, detachment is automatically attained. And the process of devotional service in Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya inaugurated this process, Sankirtan, congregational chanting, coming together to chant. Anybody can do that. You don't need degrees to do that. So, we have to see how we are helping ourselves and helping others to become detached from this material world by somehow or the other introducing Bhakti into the lifestyles of people. Any comments or questions? Yes. You have a microphone for him?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. We know how much Shastra stresses the importance of having a spiritual master. But in our society, in ISKCON, our spiritual masters are generally based overseas, or they're traveling a lot and preaching. So one may think that this is not the ideal situation as for a disciple. So what would you advise, or what would be a remedy for this situation? Because in the absence of the spiritual master, we are left to our own devices, and we are prone to the onslaught of Maya. So the spiritual master is 90% of the time, I would say, away from us, and so we don't have that direct relationship where we can just approach the spiritual master if we having an issue, spiritual problem, and so forth. So
yeah, I understand. Now, in ISKCON, these things are being discussed at the GBC level. Even in Sabah, these proposals are coming up about how to remedy this situation. Because the mega gurus, the disciples, a number of the disciples, they suffer severe setbacks in terms of accessibility. And what ISKCON is even considering doing, the leaders are considering doing, is to see in the near future how to get more gurus with people with less disciples. And without even those type of proposals for resolution proposals, I knew I have to give attention to my disciples, because my spiritual master gave me attention. He will call me sometimes on the phone. Even if he's in another continent, he'll call me on the phone, find out how I'm doing. I want to give that type of relationship to my disciples. I want to provide that type of need to my disciples. Therefore, I decided I will not have many disciples. For what? See, I'm a scholar. I have a PhD. One of my disciples, aspiring disciples, she's my personal assistant in Europe. She organizes my travels. So I wrote some things. I remember. I wrote some things for a conference. Send it to her, just to I let her know the type of things I do. So she wrote to me to say, Maharaj, some of these things here, there's something here I don't understand. I don't want to ask you a question about that, because if even you explain to me, I may not understand. That's what she told me. She has a master's degree, so I said, that's why I told you that you should go and get a PhD, so that you can understand the type of preaching your guru is embarking on, what he's saying. Now, I have my agenda. When one of my disciples, she's a lawyer, when she was schooling in Manchester, that time she was young, like 19 years old, she sent me a message saying, Maharaj, my relationship with you, I don't want any middle person. 19 years old girl. She read a message to me telling me, I don't want any middle person. You have instructions for me? send it to me directly. I said, I hear you. I follow up with that. If someone told me that, I think that majority of people have that mindset. I had that mindset. And I live with that type of experience, which benefited me so much. So yes, ISKCON management, they're discussing about this very thing you raise here. And some of us, especially the boomers, there are different generations in the movement. We have the silent generation, we have the boomers, we have the zoomers, we have the millennial, we have also the Gen Z, and then the Gen Alpha. So they think differently. People think differently. In most cases, the younger generations, say the millennial, the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, they think completely differently from the boomers, the zoomers, and the silent generation. But it's one institution, one organization. If you don't know the modus operandi and modus vivendi of these different people of different generations, how are you going to be able to coordinate their services? This goes to the manager. How are you going to be able to coordinate their service? You don't know their mindset. So it's a problem. And we need our managers to go for refresher course in management, because things are changing like anything in terms of managing faith-based non-profits. Even your family. One of the major things I've found in family conflicts. By family conflicts, I mean misunderstanding between child and parent, misunderstanding between spouses, husband and wife. One of the major things is that a majority of people, they get married, when they finish college, they get a good job, they get money, they buy a big car, build a big house, they marry. They don't care to understand the psychology of women. They just marry and experiment. And then they have start having children without understanding the psychology of child development. And then they start experimenting on the children. They bully the children. They boss the children. And the worst scenario is that because we are chanting Hare Krishna, most of us think we know everything. I don't know everything, okay? Even in academics, my PhD is just in one field: management and decisions. There is a field of medicine. There is a field of the social sciences. There are so many religions and so many areas. How should I claim that I know everything? And so, we human beings, we are supposed to be constantly learning. In the corporate world, even the high-tech managers, the top-profile managers, they go for refresher courses. So we can always improve on our devotional values, just like the corporate manager improves on their management skills by going for refresher courses. So ISKCON is taking this thing you mentioned here seriously. They've seen how so many devotees have severe setbacks because of inaccessibility to the Guru. I don't want my disciples to become victims of that. I was in South America, in Buenos Aires, and one professor, he asked me, what are the requirements for someone to take initiation from you? I said, why are you asking me? You already initiated. He said he's asking for others. So I said that anybody see, my type of service, my Guru Maharaj instructed me, go and preach to the professors. No, he didn't tell me go preach to students. He said, go and preach to the professors. This is a direct instruction. So I have to do that along with the other type of preaching, like giving Bhagavatam class or going to meet students on college campus. But like some professors are waiting for me now in one IIT campus in India. Originally, they were thinking, the devotee was arranging the program, was thinking they want to arrange a program for graduate students, masters and PhD. But then the professor saw my profile and they said, no, he should come and give a faculty presentation. In other words, to the professors. So the bottom line is that I told this boy, I want people who can help me serve my spiritual master's instruction. And therefore I need people who have skills. And then he told me, oh, you don't want many disciples. I said, of course I don't want many disciples. Because, you see, it's the disciples who suffer when there is no accessibility. So what you are saying, ISKCON is considering, there are talks on top management level how to remedy the situation. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
What's the time now? Is it 9 o'clock? Huh? Oh, okay, 8:30. Okay, so 3 more minutes. Maybe someone has a comment or question to ask, then we can close. In the absence of any other comments or questions, I move for the adjournment of this meeting. Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.